I think the main problem is to build governance in the economic field, not a super state, but an efficient instrument that sets up all the safeguards necessary to avoid such crises, including all the leaders, the financial leaders, ministers, etc. Now, how can we restore confidence? Dominique Moïse asked me to talk about this. Well, I asked my colleagues, how should we go about restoring confidence? There is no miracle solution. There is no single solution for this. I think confidence has to be built over time. And I believe that if there's a positive lesson to be learned from this crisis, there'll just be one lesson, and that is that it will force statesmen over the world, to whatever be their color, to be responsible and to act in a sustainable manner, to make promises that they can keep. And if they're not able to keep their promises, very often in the past we'd say, well, let's just follow the person who has promised the most beautiful things. That doesn't work. Not in a situation where there is lack of confidence. We all know that, unfortunately, a lot of political leaders have not always kept their promises. So, in the future, let us hope that we will keep our promises and that we will, once we've given our word, we will stick to it. But, of course, this idea of restoring confidence cannot be achieved overnight. Thank you very much, President.
You've just pointed at the most complex aspect of the questions that have been asked today to governance. They all pertain to confidence, to trust. These questions have a lot in them, a lot of different aspects. Yesterday afternoon, we had the president of the Central Bank, European Central Bank, Mr. Trichet, here. His room for maneuver and for wordings is, of course, extremely narrow. Each of his words can lead to major consequences. However, he said something fundamental to us. We must re-establish trust. It's the most important thing. There's only one way to do so. It's transparency. Transparency. What do you say? What do you have to say about transparency? Does it seem possible to you on the world stage to apply it? Each state indeed defends its own project, the political, economic. Is transparency a utopia? How can we make sure, and I read Jean-Claude Trichet's words, Jean-Claude Trichet talked about the obscurity that we are in. He talked about dissimulation. The president of the central bank using such words, dissimulation, obscurity. What do we do with this? I think Mr. Trichet, who I deeply respect, raised a problem. Is transparency enough to bring back trust? It's a recurring theme in international politics in Switzerland. Every time there is a crisis, we need more transparency. That's what people say. Now, we need some transparency, but transparency isn't enough. Transparency isn't enough to simplify situations. At some point, the situation, even if it is transparent, is so complex that there is a problem re-establishing trust through transparency. In that crisis, what did we see? We criticized rating agencies. I think we're reasonably so. They granted good standings to papers that didn't deserve so. We should introduce a surveillance authority for rating agencies. let's go back to Latin. Quis custodas, who watches the watchers? When we have a watching authority for the watchers, we will need another authority that watches over all that. Then, in the end, the responsibility is political. We can't add up layers of watch. The IMF would have its part to play. It's the only world institution that exists. Yes, more transparency is not enough. It's good, but it's not enough. The trust in institutions and in governments is needed, and I fear that parts of the problem has to do with transparency, but also parts of the problem derives from the weak, the low legitimacy. We talked about legitimacy in South Africa. I don't think, in South America rather, I don't think we can talk about low legitimacy for European governments, but let's say the average citizen is rather critical towards his governments, and this can only be compensated for and solved in the long term with a sustainable truth action. We do what we say what we do. We don't do everything, we say everything we can do because we can't say everything, but what we say, we do it, and then we hold our word. Otherwise, we explain why we couldn't hold such a promise.